On another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk, we're going to talk about this controversy going on here with the Crazy Rich Asians sequels and their co-screenwriter Adele Lim, and we're also going to break down whether we loved, hated, or needed another Black Christmas trailer and movie from Blumhouse Studios. The logo's doing its thing again. There we go. Collider Movie Talk. How are you? I'm your host, John Rocha, filling in again for the lovely Perry Namaroff, who's up there, up north, watching a bunch of movies, and she'll be reporting back soon. Follow us if you haven't followed us yet on Collider Video on Instagram and on Twitter. You'll see videos and Insta stories there from people up there at TIFF from Collider. There you go. That's it. Got it all out. There you go. Good stuff. All right. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about those two topics and a bit more, and of course, answering some of your questions from the live chat as well today on Movie Talk. But riding shotgun with me are two amazing people. Let's meet them now. Eric Eisenberg, how are you, man?
I am doing fantastic. I kind of wish I was in the Great White North, but this is great also. This is fantastic.
Thank you for doing that. None of us believe you, but thank you for doing that. Dorina, how are you?
I am good. How are you guys doing? Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be on Movie Talk with either Perry or John.
No, thank you. That's very kind of you. Well, Dorina, let's tackle this first subject here. Crazy Rich Asians sequels. This came out from the Hollywood Reporter. They have lost one of their co-screenwriters here, Adele Lim, and this is over a pay disparity. Now, this is a bit of a difficult topic and conversation to have, but I thought it was necessary to put on Movie Talk for us to explore this situation. As I said, the Hollywood Reporter is reporting this. She was offered lower money than her co-screenwriter Peter Chiarelli. She didn't provide specific figures, but sources say that Warner Brothers starting offers were $800,000 to $1 million for Chiarelli and $110,000 plus for Lim. And remember, Crazy Rich Asians came out and blew the doors off the box office, really kind of elevated Asian representation in film and was a massive deal here. And Adele Lim was one of their screenwriters for this film, an Asian screenwriter, and this was her comment about this situation. Being evaluated that way, and she means the pay disparity, can't help but make you feel that is how they view my contributions. And this is a Hollywood Reporter adding to that, saying she believes that women and people of color often are regarded as quote-unquote soy sauce, hired to sprinkle culturally specific details on a screenplay rather than credited with the substantive work of crafting the story. Now, complicating matters here was the fact that Lim had already inked a first position contract with Disney Animation for 4 years, working on Raya and The Last Dragon. She had this issue with them, moved off, they went to look at other screenwriters, and then they came back to her, Warner Brothers did, with a better offer, and it still wasn't enough. Eric, what is the fallout from this and the optics on this situation?
Definitely not great. As you said, and to put a figure on it, this was a movie that made more than $238 million worldwide. Like, for romantic comedy, late August romantic comedy, that is significant. That's huge. In this kind of situation, it's so common that it's just the studio will just say, bring back absolutely everybody because we want continuity. We want the same people involved because they were the ones that contributed to this success. Bring them back in. And it's interesting with the timeline of this situation because Chiarelli, from what I understand, he was before even director John Chu came on.
Yes.
He was the one who was adapting the first Crazy Rich Asians. He was the first one to adopt the novel. Then when John Chu came on, he brought Adele Lim with him, and that is a situation where I'm like, okay, I mean, if he kind of laid the groundwork and he did the first draft of this adaptation, Adele Lim came on and kind of added her flavor to it. That's something. This is a different situation, though. Right. This is a situation where you're making a sequel. You are starting from scratch. I mean, you have a novel that you're basing it on, but you are presumably going to get the same level of contribution, and the same level of contribution just deserves the same level of pay. That's how it works.
That's a great point you make, Eric. They're starting from scratch, and they're doing two sequels back-to-back is the plan. They're both basing them off novels. One's China Rich Girlfriend, the other one's called Rich People Problem. So they certainly have source material. They're working from scratch, starting, and yes, maybe Chiarelli laid the groundwork, but certainly Adele Lim's contributions were essential to make this feel like an authentically Asian film, something that I think a lot of people of color have pushed to see in films that profile certain sections or minority populations in this country when they get a chance to do leads or in feature films. You look at this, Dorina, how do you perceive this yourself as a woman of color, seeing these kinds of situations, seeing these opportunities? What does this do for you here?
I mean, I think, as Eric said, if you want the same team to do what they were successful at the first time. So obviously you should be bringing back the same people if that was a success. This is interesting because, and we talked about this a little bit on Collider Live this morning, where, I'm not exactly well versed in the, how quotes are done for writers and how much they're paid specifically, right? And so I've heard that, well, this is the quote that you're given dependent on how established you are as a writer, right? And so I see that, argument from one side to say, well, this is, this writer has written for TV and she has this experience, so she should get this type of money.
Right.
But at the same time, if that is the way things work in the writing community, then if you actually go by how much you've written and what your experience is, it is true that a lot of people of color don't have the same opportunities, right?
Right.
And that's the issue there, right? There's no realistic way to achieve this true equity that we all want if you are, if you're a TV writer, because you're not giving the same opportunity as Chiarelli, is that how you say the
Peter
name?
Chiarelli,
Right. Yeah, as he has in other movies, right? So that's what's interesting. It's like there should be a balance, and you should look at both sides of the argument. But it is true that she hasn't had the same opportunities, and especially like you said, John, if you are bringing what is actually going to make this movie authentic for people and their background, then she is a big contributor to this, right?
Yeah, and I think that's important. Yeah, and some people are like, well, he might have done a majority of the work, maybe, but to get that authenticity, I mean, this happened with Malcolm X, right? Spike Lee did not want Norman Jewison to direct that biopic. He's like, a black man should direct this, and sometimes that's correct. It doesn't mean across the board that's the way it should be. It's just sometimes that's correct. Like Forrest Whitaker did a fantastic job with Hope Floats. There's a black director handling a story between two white people. Yeah. That can happen both ways, but something as integral as something like Crazy Rich Asians, which was kind of like the goal was to accentuate and elevate Asian representation and show that it's just as equal. There are universal themes, universal experiences, and you take out, and you have this problem with one of your, Asian, two female screenwriters. It's such a massive mistake, and I don't want to cast aspersions here, but I wonder what John Chu's role in this is. Sure. Why didn't he step forward a little harder?
And it does sound like, there is a kind of, he's a bit distracted because he's doing In the Heights with Miranda right now, so like he's kind of busy on another project. It is honestly weird that he is not immediately working on this. It's kind of surprising that Warner Brothers didn't just immediately start working on this sequel. I think even the THR report highlights the fact that it's been kind of surprised that it's taken a minute. But honestly, just another thing that writers in general, I think in this Hollywood, are so undervalued. Their contributions are so huge. And if you look at the number, you mentioned the numbers that they're paying is it's a difference between 800,000 to 1 million versus 110,000. In perspective of everything and in the perspective of the budgets, that is very minimal. But also at the same time, if you're looking at just the perspective of these two people, you're talking to 8 to 10 times paying more.
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Slight discrepancy. That's a lot of money.
Well, it's shocking, isn't it, Dorina, now when you see all these prominent female actresses and female producers and directors and writers talking very openly about pay disparity, about the wage gap. And this is important to talk about and to highlight. And I find it shocking that in 2019, a major studio is willing to take this kind of PR hit on this franchise when people are pushing for more equality in pay.
Yeah, and I think there should be a balance, right? We talk about these news items, and at the same time, we don't specifically know what goes behind doors, closed doors, and the negotiation room, and I understand that. But we should also, as much as we want to bring in talented people, regardless of their background and what they look like, right? You do sometimes need people to actually bring an authenticity to your project, right? And that's something that, yes, you should have people that are talented regardless of what they look like, but then you also need to not only bring people that are going to contribute to the project and make it authentic, but also be compensated as well as everybody else is in the team that you're working with.
Yeah, I will also just say, you brought up the point that Chiarelli has more experience than Adele Lim. His experience, and this is not meant to disparage him in any way, but he has one movie. He wrote The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, and he developed the story for Now You See Me Too. Yeah, that's not like he's out there winning Oscars and putting out romantic comedies every single year. It's not like he's a studio go-to guy.
Right.
So I'm not even sure like necessarily you can even lean on that to a certain degree.
That's a great point. It's not Nora Ephron, for God's sake.
Exactly.
There's credibility in the romantic comedy world.
Yeah.
It is one of a number of Sandra Bullock romantic comedies, not one that stands out as the greatest. So, it's not Miss Congeniality, for God's sake. But, Peter Chiarelli did offer, and this is in the report as well, he offered to split his fee with Adele Lim. So Peter's not, Peter's not the bad guy in this situation. He was trying, because you also have to fight for your piece of the pie as a screenwriter. You got to get what you can get because, like as Eric said, sometimes in Hollywood they really do not treat you well as a writer. And certainly this is a situation as another example of this. But Adele Lim turned down that option. She says, "quote Peter's been nothing but incredibly gracious, but what I make shouldn't be dependent on the generosity of the white guy writer. If I couldn't get pay equity after CRA, which is Crazy Rich Asians, I can't imagine what it would be like for anyone else, given that the standard for how much you're worth is having established quotes from previous movies, which women of color would never have been hired for anyway," which is something Dorina brought up as well. There's no realistic way to achieve true equity that way. I think it's very profound and intelligent statement, takes the shots that it needs to take, but also says something really powerful about what's happening with people of color trying to break into the system. You can't say the system is equal if you stack the deck against people of color at times.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, everybody that is working in Hollywood, we are seeing change.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
And I know most of us, not just you guys, we're all, sick of talking about this, but the reason we keep talking about it is because there's still work to be done. So as much as it's great, it doesn't matter what you look like, and as long as you're talented, you still don't get the same opportunities. And so let's keep doing that if we can.
And you think something like Crazy Rich Asians, which was a fantastic opportunity, would be more aware of something like this rather than less aware. And it just shows you Hollywood is Hollywood sometimes.
It's weird, and I don't want to get political at all, there's a weird kind of late stage capitalism to it, where it's just the lower classes are expected to help each other to bring themselves up, while the upper class doesn't have to.
Right.
It's not the responsibility of Peter Chiarelli to do this. It's great that he offered, but that's not that's not his job. It's
And
not
I
his
am
job
so
to
glad the white guy in the panel brought this up.
But they're planning now to go as late as 2020 to start this thing, but they do want to start shooting by 2020. And John Chu says there's too much responsibility, too much precedent from the first movie, that the last thing I want to do is just hit a date and release the movie. He's essentially saying they're taking their time to kind of flesh this thing out. There's still too much work to do. Our focus isn't on the timeline, it's on getting the story right. Who knows what's going to happen now going forward? Will they find another female Asian screenwriter to step in, and will they and ironically, will they offer her more than they offered Adele when she was writing on Crazy Rich Asians to step into this situation and kind of shepherd it through? We'll see.
I mean, maybe they'll even just try and work out another deal with Adele Lim. Maybe they'll actually just figure out the situation, and that. I think that would be the best situation. But
that's another situation. That's another aspect of this too. Real quick. Could this be a bit of negotiating and bargaining by Adele through the press to get herself paid?
Which is what people are doing.
Yes.
I mean, Disney just did it with the whole Spider-Man versus Sony thing, right? Everybody's using the press to actually get what they want. It's all negotiation tactics, so you never know.
Yeah, I'm going to call my agent to use the press in just a second. I swear to God. Well, we'll see what happens as it goes forward. John Chu and all the actors apparently are all coming back. They've hit their quotas. They're paying them their money. So why wouldn't you pay the Asian co-screenwriter, female screenwriter on this thing to help it, capture the magic as it did the first time? So we'll see as it goes along. I'm sure there'll be more updates on this story as we go along. All right, next up on the show, we'll be discussing the new trailer for the Blumhouse remake of Black Christmas and answering some of your live chat questions, which are coming through fast and furious, according to Dorian. But first, let's do some plugs. The first plug, of course, is for Movie Talk. We're going to a new time starting soon. Perry Nemiroff, what do you got to say about that?
Hey guys, it's Perry here to let you know that Movie Talk is moving. We've had a great time in this 3 p.m. Pacific slot, but guess what? We want you to start your day with Collider Movie Talk, so we're moving. 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get a longer show with some brand new segments, so tune in starting Monday, September 16th, 9 a.m. Pacific. See you there.
Oh, well, there you have it. It's coming soon, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We'll be getting that bread in the morning, getting that morning bread, the smell of that bread. You know what? There's nothing better than bread in the morning, right, Dorian? Yeah, that fresh bread. That's how you do it. There you go. I worked your joke in. Jesus. All right. All right, there's other things to plug here as well. Collider has a partnership with Lionsgate right now to promote John Wick 3 coming out on Blu-ray and DVD and 4K. It's coming out, I think, September 10th. But right now, you can go to Lionsgate.com, go onto the John Wick Truth Serum tab there they have there, and you watch these 4 episodes of the Truth Serum where they explore the background of the Continental and the High Table and see what the controversy and nefarious stuff going on with those people involved there. It Chapter 2, there's a spoiler review dropping tonight, I think 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's me and Christian Ruvalcaba and Mark Riley talk about our thoughts on It Chapter 2. Spoiler filled. And one last thing, the NFL preview is up on Collider Sports. The NFL starts today, probably within a couple of hours from what you're watching us. If you're watching us live, the NFL starts today. So me, Mark Fernandez, and Josh McCougan got together in a podcast booth and gave you our predictions for the 2019 season. You can find that on the Collider Sports YouTube channel. All right, that's enough talk for me. Let's move on, or enough plugs rather. Let's move on to the Black Christmas trailer. It just dropped today. It's from the Blumhouse company there, studios there, with along with Universal Studios. This one stars Imogen Poots and is directed by Sophia Takal, and she is Imogen is one of these group of girls in the Mu Kappa Epsilon sorority who have opted to stay on campus for their senior year during the Christmas break rather than go home. Turns out that's a dicier option than braving boring family get-togethers after one of the girls, Helena, goes missing on the night of a big Christmas party. And what we see next is a girl, if we watch the trailer, it's a girl gang beatdown on this pseudo-scream type of vibe that's within this trailer here. Let's get your thoughts, Dorina. You're the horror aficionado here. What was your feeling?
I am very excited because here's the thing. We're getting reboots no matter what.
We are.
And I love the original Black Christmas. It was, it was even before John Carpenter's Halloween was one of the first slasher movies that we really got, right? And it's just not as popular as Halloween. It also had one of the first scenes where the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
So there's all of these cool, things that this movie did that was unique and original for the time. And I saw the remake a few years ago. As much as I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I was not a huge fan of the movie. But I'm excited about this because, Blumhouse is hit or miss, and most of it is hit for me. And Imogen Poots, I love the cast. I think she's great. She was also in one of my favorite remakes of all time, which is the Fright Night remake.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited about that. And I am not a huge fan of Christmas, as you guys would know, but this is my kind of Christmas movie. Also, I would actually join this sorority.
You would?
Yes.
Mu Kappa Epsilon, or whatever it is.
Only if we get to do
just
what they
for the
get to do.
opportunity
Of
to,
course.
yes.
Yes.
To battle this person. This is a new approach to the Black Christmas story, Eric. Because in the first one, they're all like just scared, getting caught out, what have you. In the second one, I don't think there was this girl gang kind of mentality fighting them all. This feels more of the time of 2019, getting together, banding together, sorority sisters coming together to take on this violent criminal. What do you think of this?
Well, I will also. There also seems to be some kind of higher powers that be that are kind of controlling the entire situation.
Right.
Which kind of, I guess, leads into my point, which is I'm really curious how spoilery this trailer is because, it very well could have just revealed absolutely everything. Like, for example, when I watched the start of that trailer and I saw Cary, we were just discussing the pronunciation of this guy's last name, Cary Elwes or Elwes, I don't know. The Princess Bride guy.
Cary Elwes.
There it is.
What it
So when I saw him as the professor at the start of the trailer, I'm like, okay, that's interesting casting because there's you don't cast him just to be the professor on the last day of Christmas break. He's coming back in some form, but I didn't expect to see him necessarily again in the trailer, let alone wearing a dark hood and surrounded by all these. And so I hope that's not like a third act reveal. Instead, I hope it's like something that's in the second act, and then they find some way to turn around in the third act. And kind of support your point, Blumhouse, I have a lot of confidence in them right now. They've really been on a roll. They've been fostering a lot of really fantastic talent, and they've been putting out some really fantastic movies, specifically this year too, even. So I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was a nice new approach to this story, having seen the original on VHS. That's how old I am, ladies and gentlemen. And I enjoyed the original, Libby Hussey being in the original, she's so great in that. And the remake I wasn't a big fan of, even though I like Trachtenberg, I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. It didn't quite do it for me. And And Perry will tell you, I'm selective about my horror. I'm not big. I don't just go see all kinds of horror. I have to pick it out and see. But then this looks fun. This looks interesting, a new approach to it, and I like it. It's got a good vibe. You throw in that kind of Faculty or Skulls vibe to it with this whole secret society. So you've got a sorority sisters against a secret society. Now I'm on board. You got ourselves an Avengers Infinity War situation or Endgame situation. I'm on board with this. I liked it. I think it's fun. I like the song at the end as well. So it gets me going in that way. And I hope, and like you said, Eric, I agree with you. The Blumhouse stuff has been really good lately. It's kind of knocked it out of the park. They just announced the Invisible Man stuff that's coming down with all these great actors like Aldous Hodge and Elizabeth Moss. So we'll see how that turns out. So they're doing a lot of good work and Halloween stuff as well. So this feels fun and different and interesting. And I hope it works because these kinds of smaller horror films that could do good work at the box office if enough people get behind it.
I mean, it's also interesting that if you just compare horror, the last Black Christmas came out in I think 2006 was right in the middle of this glut of especially Platinum Dunes was putting out the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all those kind of remakes, and none of them were particularly good. They all felt like real cash grabs just to take advantage of these names. And now it weirdly seems like we've kind of moved to a different place where it's those were approached completely wrong-headed. And so now last year obviously we got David Gordon Green's Halloween which is another Blumhouse production with John Carpenter as a very influential force. And so I like to think that these movies are being made with just a tiny bit more love than those past ones were. I mean, I don't things clearly didn't go perfectly with those to that era, but I just think that there are right heads that are behind these movies right now.
Is that the vibe you think too?
Oh yeah, I mean it is a great time to be me as a horror fan. I think we're getting the best horror movies we've gotten in a while the last couple of years, because I think the genre itself is evolving, and I think that's making filmmakers actually have to come up with unique and original ideas. Even if they're revamping a franchise, even if they're rebooting something, they're still having to connect it to modern times. And if you can do that, that's great. We're ever since we got Us by Jordan Peele, Midsummer by Ari Aster, we're getting all of these different, completely different. Ready or Not. If we get a Ready or Not, influence Black Christmas, I am so on board.
Right. Well, that's a. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I hate the term elevated genre. I just think it's crap. But what I will say, what I think people confuse that for is people just taking the genre more seriously, understanding what it has to offer, and that's where we're living now. And I think that that's something that has not only touched horror movies that has made it evolve and turn into something fantastic, but also superhero movies as well. I mean, these are good times for entertainment.
Like anything with good point, Eric. Like anything with film, you can tell instinctively who understands the genre they're working in and how to bring out the joy of that genre. Like Muschietti did with the first It. It's fantastic what he did with that. You can tell the love certain filmmakers have for a genre because they want to make it work so well and do succeed most of the times when they approach it that way. All right, Black Christmas comes out in December 13th of this year.
And I will say that, just having a Christmas movie in December as opposed to early November, which I feel like a lot of them get dumped there, just to ride through the holiday season. Give us a Christmas movie in December. That seems right. It's nice.
Especially because for Christmas, I always watch Gremlins and Batman Returns. So I want to have another Christmas, a horror Christmas movie.
Well, throw this horror log on your Christmas fire there. Yeah, nailed it. All right, that's Sophia Takal, who also directed VHS, co-wrote this with April Wolf, who I used to read her stuff in the LA Weekly. So pretty incredible to see her co-writing this. As you said, Imogen Poots, Cary Elwes, Brittany O'Grady, Alice Shannon, Lily Donahue, Ben Black, and Caleb Eberhardt. All right, let's jump into some live chat questions for you. Oh, geez, Dorian sent a few of these. Let's see. Yeah, it's true. Justin
Dorian
Rogers,
getting that bread.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, Justin Rogers, the first one, he asked us, do you prefer bread or rolls with your Christmas dinner? Good question.
Jewish.
Fair enough.
Very easy answer, yes.
My answer would be, ¿por qué no los dos?
Oh, there you go. That's right. Why not both of them? I'll always take rolls over bread, damn sure, especially if they're Hawaiian rolls. Please, they're the best. All right. Collider Fans asks, since the Queen of Darkness is on the show today, what is your favorite horror comedy for Halloween time?
Ooh, that's so hard. My first thought is Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
Because I do love Edgar Wright.
I think I have to go Evil Dead 2.
Oh, yeah.
I love
that's
that movie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, job, Eric.
I can't take both of y'all, so I will go with Bubba Hotep. Bubba Hotep is my favorite horror comedy. That can't be beat. Thank you very much. All right, Steve Calderon, thoughts on the Halloween Kills casting? Kyle Richards returning as Lindsay Wallace, Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle, and announced today Robert Longstreet as Lonnie Elin.
All about it.
Yeah.
I mean, just to go back to what you were saying, like this movie is being made with just the right heads involved. The idea that you're bringing back these characters is just really I love everything about it. It's fantastic.
I mean, Anthony Michael Hall coming back. Is he a villain? Because
no, I don't think.
No, I think he's
damn
like
it, because I wish he came back as the bully like we saw in Edward Scissorhands. You know, he's so great.
Well, that's not a horror comedy, is it?
No.
Scissorhands, no. That makes you cry.
No,
Yeah, it's not
a
super
drama.
funny. No,
It's a romance drama. It's so sad.
Jay Scott Frio wants to know, with Bradley Cooper's strong directorial debut of A Star Is Born, why haven't we heard about his or Lady Gaga's next project since?
A fair question.
Yeah.
I saw Lady Gaga dancing to The Cure on Saturday.
Where?
At the concert at the Pasadena Daydream Festival. It was great.
You went to The Cure.
So that's why she's not talking about movies, because she's
busy
dancing to The Cure.
She's having a
She
good time.
should, because who wouldn't?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
there you go.
There's so many filmmakers also. I mean, just Bradley Cooper. I mean, who like after that kind of success wind up kind of being swallowed in it and trying to come up with something too fast.
Right.
Wind up not doing something that they are really passionate about. So maybe that's
Also,
just
I feel like after you do a project that's that big, and especially if it's for him, it's like his directorial debut, right?
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm taking a break,
Right.
Because that was exhausting,
Right. Well, it seems that from what we got on IMDb, Bradley is working on a biography of Leonard Bernstein, which is cast. He cast himself in it. He is directing it and co-writing it with Josh Singer, and Carey Mulligan is cast in the film as well. So
cool.
maybe he's just taking his time to kind of like Leonard Bernstein is a lot to tackle, for
That's
God's
a big
sake.
story.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess
So-
is the only thing we've seen him on screen in this year being Rocket and
I think so.
Yeah. So
In Avengers
he's taking his
Endgame,
time.
yeah.
But I also feel like some people that want to direct, I mean, we have the smaller, lesser known directors like Panos Cosmatos or Anna Biller that
Right.
they make movies, in the span of like 8 years.
Sure,
and
right.
they come out with a movie like once every decade, and that's just their baby, right? So, and they usually, but because of that, because they put so much work and time into it and effort, it becomes a great movie.
Yeah.
So.
And exactly. Like Terrence Malick. Malick every few years. And apparently there's a new one.
Right.
They got screened up at TIFF.
Tiff, yeah.
Damn it. I love Terrence Malick. I will go his stream of consciousness insane movies all of the time. All right, I got to... Dorian, do you have any that don't have bread? For God's sake. Enough already. This is from Zeno Hour. With rumors of J.J. Abrams directing a DC movie abound, what kind of bread does J.J. eat for breakfast? For God's sakes, I can't...
He eats
Dorian?
pork bread, you guys. Pork bread is delicious.
Is there lens flare bread? That's what he eats.
There you go.
So
Yes.
that'll
The shiniest
do that.
bread. Yes.
All right. Let's see. Alan Payne asks, love you guys. Been watching since 2013. I'm Rocha old. Shut up. Do you think we will see Anakin in episode 9? Anakin Skywalker.
Maybe as a Force Ghost at the end with Yoda, and hopefully they have both Hayden Christensen and Sebastian Shaw somehow.
And just merge them into one person.
Wow.
I mean, like, it feels like they should find some way to do it, if
Yeah.
not just because, like, this is the end of the entire 9-film saga, and, like, you should find some way to put them in there.
Kind of wrap it all up.
Yeah.
I feel like this. Stop hunting for the spoilers or for the surprises. Like, sit back and enjoy
Right.
what's coming, and then there'll be a crap ton of surprises during the movie, and you'll enjoy them just as everyone else is enjoying them in the theater. There's something lost lately about this communal enjoyment that people kind of get too obsessed with spoilers. I get it. You want to get clicks or whatever, or on your own Twitter or whatever. I get it, but really, it's better to just kind of enjoy the situation and enjoy it all together, because it kind of brings us together to communally enjoy something in a film.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think as fans, we sometimes, because we're so passionate about this art that we love, we kind of become control freaks, and we want to know everything, and we
Fair
want
enough.
to be well versed. But then, you guys, life is about not knowing.
Yes. Right.
So the best art is the one that shocks you.
Exactly. I didn't know how I was going to go today on Movie Talk, but it went really well, I think. All right, one last question.
Shocking. He's like, I invited Eric and Dorina.
Yeah, right.
Who
I
knows?
thought they were going to be fine. It's always me that's the X Factor. All right, this is the last one from LMLP. What are your overrated and underrated movie snacks? Real quick.
Ooh.
Overrated, underrated.
Underrated, and I'm going to piss some people off, is dark chocolate raisins with popcorn.
Okay.
That's pretty good. I'll start with overrated, which is like popcorn in general.
In general.
Just like, I'm just not big.
I
on it.
agree with
And
you.
as a movie snack, like it makes so much noise and too much of it just like especially because I go to so many movies and like I'm offered so much free popcorn that eventually I get to a point where I get completely sick of it. Then I'll miss it for a minute. Then I'll go back to it. I'm like, this isn't great. And then whatever.
Right.
But it smells so good.
It has a great smell. I will say that.
Not coming
I love
out.
the smell.
That's the problem I have sometimes when people eat too much popcorn and you get those body odors in the theater. I agree. Popcorn overrated. Underrated to me, the Reese's Pieces. People don't ever talk about Reese's Pieces. I enjoy Reese's Pieces when I'm sitting in the theater.
And they taste even better in your popcorn.
No, I don't. I do the crunch in my popcorn, the Nestle Crunch.
Yeah.
That's a
I've had that
good
before.
because then the chocolate melts into the. If you get a hot,
that's good.
That's one thing though. I am super anal about warm popcorn. I found as I've gotten older that if I taste the first handful, it's not warm. I'm sending it back and waiting for them
Really?
to pop a new amount.
See, as long as mine is salty, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I have no surprise. Salty Dorina. All right, well, there you go. That's a good way to end today's episode of Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank Dorina and Eric Eisenberg for stopping by. Thank you both so much.
Thank you
for having us.
having
I think you can find you at Dorina Arellano.
I am at Evil Dorina
There it
on
is.
Twitter and Instagram.
Eric, before the mail job site.
On Twitter at @Eisenberg.
Okay, and you write for Cinema Blend.
And for Cinema Blend.
Yeah, so
Yep.
read his stuff. Eric's stuff is always great to read. Follow me at The Roke Says. Thanks to Adam Smith over there for switching and for Dorian Parks sending in those chat questions. And thank all of you for watching us here on Collider Movie Talk. Tomorrow we'll be back with a new episode live, Friday episode, 3 p.m. PT. Take care until then.